Tim Black. Tim Black. Tim Black. Yes, I am. True. Funny. Tim Black.
Hey people, how you doing?
I am
How's it going? Just making sure that I'm live here, that everything is functioning as it should. How you doing, guys? My name is Tim Black. Welcome to the second edition of Black Word Today. That's Black Word Today. So there's no biting on the name there. We got a couple of stories today I think we should cover. I think they're going to be important. I think they're going to be eye-opening for everyone who's involved. I want to say first hello to everybody on Periscope, all my friends on YouTube and my friends on Facebook. Hi, Nambi. How you doing? What's up, sis? I saw you out there in Facebook world. All right. So as you know, we've got what's going on in Alabama. We got the Roy Moore, Doug Jones contest happening right now. We've got something about Boston. Boston that I think it's going to come as a huge shocker to people who don't live in Boston. We got an update on the Keaton Jones story of the bullying. We're going to hit that as well. But I'd first like to start with this. It's a topic I don't know how often it's addressed to the black community specifically. That's net neutrality. Net neutrality. Net neutrality is a term you hear people say it. It's basically just access, free and unfettered access to the internet. Right? I think it's a very important subject to talk about because in 2 days, the FCC will be deciding if they're going to leave the internet as it is or will they be modifying it to support or enhance big corporations. It's so important that our internet stay at least in the form that it's in. And don't get me wrong, it's not perfect as it is. It's not perfect at all. There's no caps on how much ISPs can charge you. The service in many sections of the country are not served well. Okay, so access, like a lot of people don't know, if you go to certain places in this country, there is no internet. Very spotty internet, if any internet. Okay, so a lot of people don't know that because if you live in a metropolitan area, you're used to getting your internet, not having a problem. So there are a lot of issues. I don't want to paint the picture like we have a perfect internet situation, access to the World Wide Web. I don't want to paint it like it's perfect because it's far from perfect. But what they're proposing is to put the access, the speed, and preferential treatment in the hands of internet service providers. And that, folks, is a no-no. That's not going to work for us. I want to point out a couple of things. The FCC chairman, his name is Ajit Pai. Ajit, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I'm just going to call him Mr. Corporate, Big Corporation Bloodsucker. Because that's what he is, in my opinion. He's basically a lobbyist who's been given a government title. He wants to repeal net neutrality. Once upon a time, cable was seen as an insurgent outlaw. That's back in the 60s? Wow, I guess it was. They saw the internet. Well, they saw the cable. So remember a time when cable access. If you remember, I'm pretty much old enough to remember when cable kind of first kicked off. I remember like Super TV, faintly. My parents had it. They had the big antenna on the outside of the house. Had to sneak downstairs in the basement to watch it. Well, at that time, cable TV was seen as taking over because we had legacy TV. Well, if you compare what's going on with the internet with cable when it first started, you can see the pushback. There was a lot of pushback against cable TV. I was unaware of this because there's so much money to be made in information, in programming. The internet came along and it broke the business model wide open. Suddenly, viewers at home saw an explosion of creative new content and voted with their clicks, not their wallets. Essential to the internet's growth was net neutrality. All legal traffic flowed at the same speed over the network, regardless of ownership or content. So there's a lot of money to be made on the internet, as we all know. Businesses are being started every day. And if you got a great idea, and if you can get it off the ground, you have an opportunity. Now, I'm not going to say that that opportunity is going to result in tons of money, but it could result in a small business. It could result in enough income for you to take care of your family. These are possibilities. And that possibility is what the government wants to control. They want to be able to sell that as a commodity. Access to the internet as a commodity for big businesses and big corporations. And what that will do is that will scrunch, yeah, I said scrunch. It will scrunch, it will scrunch new entrepreneurs just starting out. So in a couple of days, the decision will be made about net neutrality. There's a text message. There's a text number. Here we go. If you could do yourself and the rest of the community, if you could do the country a favor, this is so big. I don't think I can overstress how important net neutrality is. If you start a website tomorrow, okay, and say it wants to compete against in an arena that already has heavy hitters, that have money, that have deep pockets. Well, if they repeal net neutrality, the big pocket company that sees you coming can purchase speeds so that it'll far exceed what you're capable of doing. Okay? Visitors want to go to sites that are the easiest to get to. They want to get to the site that's able to stream the fastest, that load the quickest. And if you have big corporations that are able to give money to the ISPs and say, hey, we want to go super fast, the newcomer who doesn't have that type of money will not be able to compete. See, that's the beauty of net neutrality. All speeds are the same regardless of content. So that's why it's important. Text the word resist to 50409. Resist 50409. This is so important, guys. It's important for our kids. It's important for our communities. It's important for business. It's important for entrepreneurs. It's important for us all. It's important just if you just want to access information. If you just want to be able to look up information that's contrary to popular opinion or information that is, I don't know, what if you want to investigate COINTELPRO? How slow do you think our ISP might make that information load for you? I'm just asking questions. I'm just wondering what you think. Like, get what I'm saying? Get where I'm going at? If someone can control the speed of how quickly you access information that may be negative to their brand, I don't know. It could change a whole lot. So that's it, man. Resist, and here goes the code 50409. That's net neutrality, guys. And if you want to see a very spirited take on the net neutrality, I suggest you watch my Coffee with Tim Black show. I went in on that, and I don't want to put it on here. I've already kind of went off on it. So go to my YouTube channel or go to my Facebook at Real Tim Black, and you'll be able to see that video. So we all know about the race that's going on in Alabama today. We know that the Republicans need to get this seat because this seat, right now, they have a 2-seat lead in the Senate. If they lose this seat, they'll be down to 1, and this doesn't bode well for the Republicans when it comes time, 2018, they may lose a seat here or there. Maybe the Democrats will make a comeback in certain locations. The Democrats can't continue to lose. I mean, don't get me wrong, they can, but the likelihood that they'll just keep losing and losing and losing, that doesn't bode well. So the Republicans don't want to take the chance. That's why they're supporting Roy Moore. So Roy Moore right now, he's leading. I believe he's leading. But the reason why he's leading may not be just because Alabamans don't care about the allegations that have been made against him. One of the reasons why he may be leading is because of voter suppression. Now, this is what they're reporting, folks. Now, this is in the New York Times. Anybody who wants to go check it out. The title of the article is Alabama Senate Race, Moore and Jones vote amid reports of confusion at polls. Polls fully closed in the state at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's, they're open to 8. What time is it now? 6. They got live results now being tallied. And you can also find that on Twitter. Just do a hashtag Alabama. Hashtag Alabama. Now listen to this story. I guess I have to read this whole thing to you in order for you to get the gist of it. It says, for Republicans that didn't have to come to this, writes Alexander Burns, one of our political reporters, Mr. Moore was never inevitable. Read more in our outline of the decisions that Republican leaders made to bring things to this point. In Raymer, Alabama, about 20 miles south of Montgomery, a precinct captain was reported to have engaged a sheriff's deputy to confirm the identities of voters after they had displayed one of the approved photo ID cards required by state law, according to Kristen Clark, the president of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Basically, they're complaining about voter intimidation at the hands of precinct officials. The Lawyers Committee leads a consortium of civil rights groups that are telling that are staffing a phone and email hotline. It's called Election Protection to field questions and complaints about the election. So they have a hotline set up, and there are calls coming in that voters, particularly black voters, are having a hard time voting. Listen, they say Clark said the hotline was investigating reports from voters who said they had received text messages telling them falsely that the locations of their polling places had changed. Some voters were also complaining that they had not received absentee ballots. I heard this during the 2016 elections as well. People were receiving text messages that led them to the wrong polling places. This is going on again, folks. They said still others were confused about their eligibility after going to the polls or checking a state government website to locate their polling places and discovered that they had been designated inactive voters, according to the Lawyers Committee and the ACLU of Alabama. John H. Murrow, the Alabama Secretary of State, said those people were eligible to vote but had been placed on a list of inactive voters after they failed to cast ballots in several elections. He said they could update their personal information at their polling place. It's not even a hiccup, said Murrow. It takes less than 3 minutes for them to update their information. But Brock Bone, a staff attorney of the ACLU of Alabama, said the calls coming into the group's voter hotline suggest otherwise. This happened back in the primaries as well. See, I told you I know my stuff. Individuals are going through hoops they shouldn't have to be able to vote. And there is an issue with the way people are marked inactive so easily. Most voters who complained to the ACLU were Democrats, but the problem could affect Republicans as well, he said. Mr. Bones said officials in one largely African-American precinct in Mobile said the voters were being turned away when address on their ID cards did not match the one in the precinct rolls. Contrary to the state's photo ID law, we're telling them to just plow through to bring their IDs, even their utility bills, with their current address. Now look, guys, if you get in your car, or you get a ride, or you walk, or you catch the train, or whatever you do, I don't know the transportation in Alabama, and you come out to vote, the last thing that you should have to have is your utility bill. We're not applying for credit. We're not going in there to rent a couch or rent a TV. We're going in there to exercise our constitutional rights to cast our vote for the candidate that we choose. I'm seeing, I was looking online earlier on Twitter. And, I don't like using the coon word because I think it's racially charged. It's a disparaging comment that I just feel is like, we really shouldn't have to go there in order to make a point. So I'm just going to call them sellouts, man. I saw some sellouts online making the claim that, well, if you don't have an ID, if you can't, afford an ID, it's not about having ID. It's about if the old records match the voter ID or match the driver's license, if everything doesn't match up, people are having problems. This is a right. Voting is a right. As a citizen, you should be able to vote. You should not have to prove that you live where you say you live in order to vote at that polling place. So let's say you take for however long to get to the polling place. You stand in line to get there to cast your vote. 3 years ago or 5 years ago, you lived in another precinct. You're not allowed to vote at the precinct that's nearest you. They're going to usher you across town, tell you have to go somewhere else and vote. So now you got to go there, get back in line. Shouldn't the ID already cover you as long as you have proof that you are an Alabama resident? I just want to go on the record and say, if Roy Moore becomes the senator of Alabama, it may not all be due to people just don't care that he possibly is a pedophile. It could also be due to these reports that I'm reading, the reports that you can read too. Go to the New York Times website. That there is voter suppression, active voter suppression occurring in Alabama right now as we speak. This is not what democracy looks like, but it's all too familiar. As I stated before, I saw this same trend. I saw the same reports in 2016 in the general election and in the primary election. Yes, and in the primary election.
I didn't know I couldn't do that.
This is ridiculous. All right. Let's go to an update about a story that's been in the headlines. Some people say it's a distraction, but I think there's actually more to it than that. I think it gives us more to consider. I'm talking about the story of Keaton Jones. Now, as we know, Keaton Jones is a young boy that made the video that his mother took, which I'll get to in a minute. Keaton Jones is the young boy in the video that was complaining of being bullied in school. He complained of milk being poured over his head and food shoved in his clothes. We're not talking about candy bars put in his pockets. We're talking about people shoving mashed potatoes or string beans. It's a way to traumatize a kid, okay? So he made a video, went viral. A lot of people responded to it, as you know. A lot of celebrities, they came out. They offered support. From Snoop Dogg to, so many people, right? So many people showed support because it's a kid. He's obviously emotionally traumatized to some degree. He's very upset. And how could you not be moved by that? All right? Well, this all went from heartwarming to heartbreaking to pissed off anger when allegations that Keaton Jones' mother is a big-time bigot. Those allegations start swirling across the internet. Well, she went on the Today Show this morning, and, not Today Show. She went on Good Morning America. Today Show was accusers of Donald Trump, so I'm getting my shows mixed up. Those were accusers of Donald Trump. Three young ladies, or three women, I should say, who say that Donald Trump, sexually was either sexually suggestive or put his hands on them. Back to this story. So the mother, she went on the Good Morning America show, and she made some comments, and she tried to clear the air. And look, I'm not here to judge whether I believe her or not. She says she's from the South. Yes, there were pictures of her with the Confederate flag. She said there's one picture of her standing next to the Confederate flag. There's another picture of a family picture, and there's a Confederate flag, and someone's holding a gun or whatever. She says she's not racist, and she's not a bigot. She says that she had many pictures on her Facebook, many pictures on Instagram. Her daughter had pictures on the Instagram. And of course, people focused on the Confederate pictures. Okay, so you believe what you want to believe about that part. My thing is this, and I don't. I just believe, my bottom line is that some of these allegations, I think, were done as intentional ways to cause animosity. Okay? What I'm saying is, I've been hearing people say that the young boy used the N-word in school and that's why he was bullied. But I have yet to see a credible article of a person who made that claim. Okay? Okay? I haven't seen an article with that claim. People have contacted me saying, well, I heard this, I heard that. Well, look, I need the claim in writing. I need someone to attest to it. No one's attesting to it. So I'm going to stick with my original summation of this whole thing, which was, look, if the mother has these issues, well, she says she doesn't, and we're not going to take her by her word because she's still by the Confederate flag, okay, fine. But the kid doesn't have anything to do with that. And don't get me wrong, I understand totally how every time, well, not every time, but often, when there's a black kid, they look at the parents. You know, they'll go look at the parents and say, well, the parents did this or the parents did that, and they assign blame to that child or to that young person based on family, based on what a sibling has done. I can't in good conscience do the same thing, but I can call it out for what it is. And what it is a double standard. What it is we need everybody to recognize how these games are played, how people are painted, how people are stereotyped. Yes, Miss Jones, to large amounts of people in this country, the Confederate flag is bigoted. We see it as a hearkening back to a time when black people were slaves in this country. And we see your pride in that flag to a lot of us, right, as a willingness to go back to that time. Okay? Now, I'm tired of people making the argument that, oh, no, Tim Black. No, there are black people who have the flag too. You know what? I don't care if there are some black people in Mississippi who like the Confederate flag. I'm telling you, to large numbers of people in this country, when they see that Confederate flag and they see somebody waving it or they see somebody standing by it, making a smiling face, and if that person has posts on their page that say, forget you, stop complaining about your past, stop complaining about your life, stop complaining about this, well, that will be seen as racist. I think they have grounds to feel that way. So I'm not here at all. I'm telling you the side of Miss Jones, but I'm not here to support her or stand up for her in any way, shape, or form. I think it's problematic that she had those posts on her Facebook. Okay? And I think if somebody saw that, they would have the same reaction I did. Bigot. But back to my point. It doesn't change how I feel about Keaton Jones. It just doesn't. And I would love to feel that if this was a black kid who was saying he was bullied, that other people would feel the same way. There would be the same amount of outpouring from society, from our neighbors, from the celebrities, as it was about Keaton Jones. For some reason, I don't feel it would. I feel that people's minds would start working and they would come up with all types of scenarios. Sort of like when there's a shooting, someone has a scenario of, well, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened before the tape start running. Someone just said that recently about a shooting. Oh, I don't know what happened before the tape start running. All that being said, I just want you to know I recognize game, and I recognize what's going on, and I recognize that things are not fair. I recognize it's not equal. I recognize that. I understand it. But I can't in good conscience throw a kid under the bus just because I think his mother is driving a bigot bus. So I'll leave it there. And I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. Another thing, why can't you be standing next to the American flag, the U.S. flag holding up a gun? Isn't that what patriotism really should be? I mean, we are Americans, right? Like, I'll go on a show and someone will say, Tim, are you an American? The Americans, you proud to be an American? Okay, well, why aren't you posing next to the U.S. flag, the American flag? I mean, if you're going to diss Kaepernick for taking a knee, because that was one of her posts, and that's one of her posts. That has been authenticated. That was her post. Okay, so miss me with the, I don't know why they didn't challenge her on Good Morning America. I don't know why they didn't challenge her with that question, but she didn't go on the Tim Black show. She went on their show, so they didn't ask her that. All right. Now I want to get to a story. Oh, and by the way, guys, send your mail to tim@timbblacktv.com. Hit me up on Facebook. You can DM me, message me, Real Tim Black, @Real Tim Black, okay? Because I want to make sure I'm covering issues that you care about, all right? So anyway, my last story, all right? I saw this post, and I thought this was, I thought this was satire, y'all. When I saw this, what I'm about to share with you, I didn't think it was real. I thought, no, this can't be true. I mean, things are bad, but I didn't know they were this bad. Boston. Not a typo. Disbelief as Boston Globe confirms media net worth of black Bostonians is $8. Not joking. $8. Median worth. Let me explain. The Boston Globe Spotlight investigation team cited the statistic in its first installment of a series focused on Boston's black community. And the city's reputation as one of the most racist urban regions in America. Sandwiched between other realities facing African Americans living in the periphery of Massachusetts' capital, the eyebrow-raising statistic left many readers wondering if the number was a typo. It prompted the Boston Globe to write a follow-up article the next day on December 11th, titled, "That Was No Typo. The median net worth of black Bostonians really is $8. The $8 figure comes from a 2015 report authored by the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, Duke University, and the New School, according to the report. The median household net worth in the greater Boston region is $247,500 for whites. $8 for blacks. $12,000 for Caribbean blacks. And $3,000 for Puerto Ricans. Can we just let that sit there for a minute? So, if you have a disparity, if you have an imbalance that is that humongous, what's the word we like to use? Huge. When we have a disparity that is that huge, then either you're telling me that these people are incredibly deficient, incredibly disadvantaged in mental capacity, something. And that these people are extraordinarily gifted, Einsteins even, or maybe, just maybe, it's a systemic issue. Because you cannot tell me $247,500 medium income for what? Wealth, not income, wealth, big difference. Because wealth ain't your job. Net worth ain't your job. Net worth is what you own, minus debt, right? Right? That's what that is, right? So let me get back to that number, $247,500 in net worth for white folks and $8 for black folks. Did that just make the case for systemic racism, epidemic systemic racism in Boston, or what? I think I did. I think I just made that case. I think those numbers made that case. Hell, I didn't make the case. Boston Globe made the case. And Tim Black don't run the Boston Globe. What's that about? Let's keep going. Now, just to reiterate, the Globe's follow-up article noted that the net worth is determined by subtracting debt from assets, which means that blacks and Dominicans in Greater Boston owe almost as much as the combined value of what they own, if they own anything at all. While the economic security of Boston area blacks may be conspicuously dicey, studies point to a nationwide trend of African-American households hemorrhaging wealth. Now, just yesterday in the first edition of Black Word Today, even I got it wrong, Black Word Today, I talked about how Donald Trump got it wrong when he said that black household ownership just reached record highs. The Boston Globe underscores what I just said. They're saying the same thing I'm saying. Same thing that the statistics said. Same thing that all indicators pointed to, that no, African-American household ownership is not on the rise. It's on the decline, and it's been on the decline for several years. And also that the net worth of these households, if they do own these households, their debts exceed their assets. So whatever they own, they owe more money to the bank for what they have than what they I think the larger point here is that when we hear the rhetoric, when we see celebrities, for instance, and I know that there's some great people out there, there's others who talk about this, but when we see these celebrities and they're put on our movie screens, they're put on, on our videos, they're put on, they represent brands, and they give us this false impression that African Americans, that black folks are doing so well in this country, that we're right up there, we're neck and neck, that everything's even. We had a black president, so all our problems are erased. You got just as much opportunity as I do. Can you really say that, folks? You damn sure can't say it if you live in Boston. But I bet you there are people in Boston who say it, who feel it, because that's partially what racism is, right? To me, racism is looking at another person and feeling like their problems are created by them. Well, how could you look at someone who has a net worth of $8 and you by average, and I'm not saying that there are some poor white people in Boston. I'm not saying it. I'm sure there are. But we're talking about average. Did they say average or did they say median? Because I think that matters, right? Between 2007 and 2016, the average wealth of the bottom 99% decreased by $4,500. This decline was particularly concentrated among the housing wealth of African Americans. Outside of home equity, black wealth recovered its 2007 level by 2016. But average black home equity was still $16,700 less. Meanwhile, over the same period, the average wealth of the top 1% increased by $4.9 million. Citing the report, the left-leaning Jacobin magazine said that the first black president in American history turned out to be a disaster for black wealth. If Obama would have chosen to help Main Street instead of Wall Street, there may have been a different outcome. I just want to thank Jacobin magazine for making that statement, because whenever I make that statement, for some reason, people start running at me with pitchforks. I don't criticize Obama because it made me feel good. I criticize Obama because he deserves criticism. If Trump does not write executive orders to mitigate this problem, meanwhile, he can make comments that are totally false about black wealth, about black home ownership, totally off base, then I will have a lot of criticism for Donald Trump. Up to this point, he hasn't done it. Up to this point, he hasn't signed that paperwork to better the situation, but he wants to somehow take credit for something. No, it's not a reality. What you're saying is false. So back to this study. I think it's important, not just for black folks to recognize the situation, because I know how it is. We tend to look at our lives based on how we're doing. And some people who are watching this video right now, who are watching this live stream, whether you be on Facebook, Periscope, or you be on YouTube, you'll look at others and look from your lens, your standpoint. And if you have a job and you have a home and you're not in the red, you'll tend to think other people are the same way. You think the other people that aren't doing so well somehow have a problem with them. It's something about them that has held them back. But based on this study, not based on my opinion, not based on rhetoric, not based on just cutting on the film and just talking, based on the information that I have in front of me that you can go look up as well, there are a lot more black folks who are starting out with zero, less than zero, and they're trying to compete with white folks who got it good. So there is a disparity. And unless you believe that disparity is caused by people who just don't want nothing, then you have to look at what's going on. And I think it's systemic. I believe it's systemic. I don't think you get to this without systemic problems. And I think those systemic problems are probably intentional. I mean, how could you do so well at disenfranchising one group of people unless it was something that was deliberate? I mean, I'm just saying. Hey, bad luck comes for everybody, right? Everybody has bad luck. Why such concentrated bad luck in one group? And what I'm telling you is that, look, I encourage you all to go look up this information. Go to the New York Times. Go to the Boston Globe. Boston Globe, actually, not New York Times. Boston Globe for this particular article. It's also on RT.com, okay? It's part of a series of coverage that the Boston Globe was doing in regards to racism in Massachusetts, particularly Boston. It's also important to note that racism in Boston has been quantified, measured, talked about, documented for decades. That's it. That's it, guys. That's all I got. All right? I think that's enough. When people say, Tim Black, why do you focus on politics? Why do you talk about politics? Won't we just talk about entertainment? Won't we just, talk about shootings, because I believe that problems like this cannot be mitigated, solved, relieved by ignoring them. And I believe that the only way that you're going to get structural change that will rid us of situations like this is through public policy. I don't think you can go to people who are worth $8 and say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I don't think you can go to people who are only worth $8 and say, start an internet business. Go buy some Bitcoins. That'll change it all. I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can do that with a straight face. And I think the only people that would do that are parasites. That's what I think. I think the reality of many black households, the reality of many single young black people coming out of college is debt. And I think that needs to be known. And we need to collectively, hopefully collectively, and I know I got different people who watch my show, who watch my content. I think if we want to make an impact on that, I think we need to band together to do so, and I think it's going to take political will. And I think I have the right audience to get the ball rolling in that direction, because I do have a diverse audience. You know, someone said to me in a comment yesterday, they said, Tim, now that you're doing a show that's to help black folks, to inform black folks, you'll probably lose half your white audience. I think they're wrong. And I also think that's a chance I got to take. I'm Tim Black, guys. Don't forget to email me at tim@timblacktv.com. Also, visit me at timblacktv.com. Become a member of my wolf pack. You can give as little as $1 a month. All right? You can give as much as, I don't know, $10,000 a month. But support independent media. This is the reason why I'm able to give you this content, because no one's telling me what to say. No one's telling me what I can talk about. And you help drive this conversation, because you can submit story ideas to me. And I'm always looking for great stories, information to share. I think in order to do a respectable job on Black Word today, I'm going to need to do research, and we're going to have people that assist in that regard. So please, contact me at tim@timblacktv.com. Find me on Facebook, Twitter, and all those other places, man. I will see you soon. My folks, if you are available, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it will be another edition of the Tim Black at Night Show. As always, I will see you there on all platforms. Till then, stay strong. And like I always say, don't you let nobody take your cornbread.
Nobody take no cornbread from me.
Keep your cornbread. You're going to need it. Peace.
Tim Black. Tim Black. Tim Black. Yes, I am. True. Funny. Tim Black. I am TimBlack.com. Tim Black.